I've had doctors go, whoever did this did a good job. He was an excellent surgeon. That and the magnet have done wonders. But I had a problem. Couldn't speak. See, when they cut your throat right here, there's a nerve that controls your vocal cords. And he didn't tell me that, but you hit that nerve and your vocal cords contract. They pull apart. Your vocal cords work on a bellows system, air running through them. I could talk like this. That was all I could do. Now, I was called to preach then. I was in evangelism then. I'm going to tell you what I can remember. In fact, well, I'll tell you what happened. I remember being face down in that circle electric bed, 20 pounds still running off my head through the crossbar and down the side. I used to do pull-ups. People would come and visit me, and I'd go, watch the weight. And they'd watch, I'd go. And they'd go, I go. You know? But anyway, I've always exercised. Anyway, I can still remember laying face down in room 237 of Doctor's Hospital. The floor at that time was black and dark green checkerboard asbestos tile. They didn't know how dangerous it was then. And on that tile, I am looking at a puddle of my tears. They are dripping off my face. I'm laying face down. They're dripping right off my face. I'm in this room alone. And here's what I said to God. I said, God, you took my voice. I said, I didn't want to be paralyzed. Had I come through this surgery paralyzed, I would be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, but I could preach from a wheelchair. I might operate it with my tongue. They have them that way. They have them that you operate by blowing on them. I see people in restaurants, I see them moving those things with their mouth, and I think that was supposed to be me. But if I was that, if I was paralyzed from neck down, I could preach from a wheelchair. Isn't that right? I said, God, you gave me back my body and took the one thing I have to preach, my voice. I said, I don't understand this. Then I did some reasoning. Here's my reasoning, and I hope it sits well with you because it's right. When you love somebody, don't you want them to be happy? That's why I wonder about some of you guys. I don't know how hard you work at trying to make your wife happy. Lady, I don't know, some of you act like your husband's competition. I really like to make my wife happy. I love my wife. I love to make her smile. I love to make her happy. I told you, I love the Lord. And when you love somebody, you want them to be happy. And I said this, I said, God, I said, I love you. I said, I love you, and you took my voice. You did what you wanted to do. And if you did what you wanted to do, that must make you happy. So God, if me not talking makes you happy, I surrender never to speak again. Now at this point I'm supposed to say, and my voice came back miraculously. No. But my joy did. Tears stopped. Tears stopped right then. I had my peace back. I had my joy back. You know why? Because I had just put a knife in Isaac. I didn't get my voice back for 4 more months. I was in a brace. It held my head like this from here to here, and I had gone to a doctor after 4 months. The vocal cords had contracted, and I went to this plastic surgeon, this nose, ear, eyes, face, throat, lung, whatever, you know. And he said, here's what we're going to do. He said, we're going to go in there and we're going to inflate your vocal cords with Teflon. That way I could talk and the eggs would not stick. But here's what this guy said. This was Saturday. I saw him. This next Saturday, they're going to do this surgery. You know what this doctor said? This is this doctor. There are some good ones out there. He told me what we're going to do. He said, this Saturday, we'll put you in the hospital, and we're going to do this surgery. But he said, I want a second opinion. And he said, I have made an appointment with another doctor on Monday. And you're going to go to his office Monday, and if he concurs with my prognosis, then we're going to do this surgery. I'll be honest, I was more frightened about them messing with my vocal cords than anything else. So I see him Saturday. Monday, I'm going to this doctor. Sunday night, coming home from church. Of course, Kathy is driving because I can't even turn my head. And as I'm driving down the road, the only thing I can tell you is it felt like there was a volume knob right here, and God reached down and turned it up. Because I'm talking, I felt something happen. I went, Kathy, I think that I can talk. In its sentence, my voice came back. She said, no, you can't. I said, yes, I can. Listen. And she has been doing that for 34 years. And she said, if I could ever get my hand on that volume knob. But anyway, I went to that doctor the next day, and he was mad at me for wasting his time. Now, to be honest, it's not a joke. They didn't come back all the way. I use a little more air pressure than normal. I don't know what it would be, but let's say it's 5 pounds air pressure. I need 7 or 8. That's why sometimes at the end of a sentence, I'll get breathy. I run out of air because I'm putting air. But that's okay, guys. That's okay. I'm glad I can talk. But it was Isaac. Why can't you trust God with Isaac? I'm not doubting your love. Okay? Honest, I'm not doubting your love. I'm just asking you, why can't you trust God? If you can trust God with everything, why can't you trust God with Isaac? This happened out our west around the turn of the century in a little Indian mission. A missionary to the Indians was preaching. He's preaching this Indian mission, and right here, like so many churches, was a communion table, an altar. And this missionary was preaching to these Indians, and they are stoic. They really are. I preached to 5 Navajo churches. Was it this year, babe, or last year? Last year. That's what happened. Anyway, the pastor got up and said, my wife and I are the only non-Indians in the place. The pastor said, and now Brother Gipp is going to find out how Custer felt. But anyway, but I had nothing to offer, so they left me alone. But this fellow was preaching to his Indians. You know what he was preaching? He was preaching 100% surrender to the Lord. And right down about here, second, third row, was an older Indian, and he's listening. You know, they're not emotional, they're very stoic. And he's tuned in on what this guy said. And you know, when you're preaching, it's one thing to get an amen. It's even another to have somebody say, boy, I enjoyed that. But when you go out and do it, that really blesses a preacher. And while this guy's talking, this Indian got up, walked out to his horse. They were still riding horses, had saddles by that time. Indians used to be bareback, but by the turn of the century, they knew a good thing when they saw it. But he went out and he took his saddlebags and his bedroll and all of the stuff off of his horse. He brought it up and put it right on top of that altar and stood there and looked at that missionary. And that missionary never even acknowledged he had done anything. Never looked down, never made eye contact, never said anything, just kept on preaching about 100% surrender. The Indian was kind of stunned. Thought he had just done what he was supposed to do. And he said he stood there for a while and he looked at that missionary. He wasn't mad, he just couldn't figure out. I thought I was doing what he wanted, and it was like the light came on. He walked back out there. He took the saddle off his horse. You know, guys, a saddle, you think a saddle is just something you sit on? You mess with a cowboy's saddle. He can have 20 saddles over there, but the one that he uses all the time, you mess with that one, see what happens. When you go riding and a cowboy says, I'm going to let you use my saddle, that is not a light thing. And this Indian went out, and some of those are $400, $500, $600. He went out there, took the saddle off his horse, brought it in, and laid it right on top of all the other stuff on top of that altar, and looked up at that missionary. That missionary never even broke stride, never looked down, never acknowledged anything, never said he'd done the right thing, just kept on preaching about the need for 100% surrender. The Indian stood there, absolutely stymied. The light came on. He went back out. He untied his horse. You know what that means? I mean, those were still the days when they hung you for stealing somebody's horse. That's how important that horse was. Untied that horse, led that horse right down the main aisle of that mission, Meaning no disrespect. Absolutely as innocent as